Welcome back. It's still the morning brief right here on Channels Television. Of course, 2 days ago, the news space, literally across the country, was inundated with that very sad incident. Nollywood actor, Junior Pope, and several members of the crew, about 4 or 5 of them, passed on. They drowned in that river while filming, which is why that conversation has to be brought to focus as to safety on our waterways. And we have Oluwadamilola Emmanuel, the General Manager of Lagos State Waterways Authority, here with us to help us out on this particular subject matter. But before we take that conversation on to the next level, we have a breaking news that the Federal University students, 2 students that were kidnapped in Federal University Wukari have now regained their freedom. So that's the breaking news we're getting, that the students that were kidnapped, Federal University Wukari in Taraba, have now regained their freedom. We're going to bring you details of that particular story as soon as we get all of it right here on the program. So we're excited to see that those students are now off the hands of the abductors. But let's come back. Okay, so that's in Taraba State. Wukari is in Taraba State, by the way. So just an update on this particular story. So the students have regained their freedom. We don't know yet whether they'll be reunited with their families, but that's information we're getting from our correspondent in Taraba State. Let's come to you, Mr. Emmanuel, on this first. I'm sure that it's a sad development. We all saw that, and so many questions were asked. But the generic ones were, why were they not wearing a life jacket? Some were saying the video showed that the guy was driving with too much speed. We don't know the full story. So everybody's giving their own version of the same event. What do you make of that situation, and what could have been done differently?
Well, obviously, it's very sad initially when you hear these kind of things that happen. But of course, like you said, clearly several measures were not in place. The very first thing that happens at every jetty is that there will be state officials of the waterways, either state or federal, to ensure that basic safety measures are in place. Because obviously there's the regulatory enforcement. There is also the passenger's responsibility to ensure that, am I safe on this journey I'm about to embark upon? And of course, the boat operator themselves must ensure they adhere to basic safety measures. And in this case, we didn't see any of that, unfortunately, on this incident. And of course, him doing the video as well, speaking to the driver and telling the driver, slow down, slow down, slow down, also speaks to the fact that the driver clearly was not even listening to what he was saying. It was basically, I see like a fall down, or like just like a crippling of the entire system, when clearly the system was not in place.
But now when you talk about system, are there agencies in charge of these boat drivers or captains, whoever is on the sea, taking charge of a boat or a ship, whatever it is? Are there agencies in charge of these people to ensure that safety standards are met, no matter how maybe they're in rural areas, wherever they are? Ensure that safety is key?
Yes, so basically there is a national body, and a few states have a few state authorities, like we in Lagos have a Lagos State Waterways Authority, which I work under as well. And the whole idea is that both the national and the state, right, will work together to ensure that each of these points where there's water transportation, all safety measures are in place. So yes, there's meant to be bodies, but in a number of states, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that is the case.
I mean, it's a sad event, really, and I know a lot of people are suggesting that, I mean, we could explore waterways, really, yeah, particularly for Lagos. Yes. And now we're contextualizing in Lagos and hopefully extrapolate it to other parts. Lagos, because one, there's a lot of traffic in Lagos, and yes, we could do well with the waterways. And I know that there's some work going on there. But as a user, now, not a road user, a water user now, what are the checklists? What are the things I have to tick off before even thinking about getting into whatever means of transportation it is I am getting into on the waterways? What are these basic things I need to tick off that list before I get into?
Yeah, the very first thing I would always say is the life jacket. Now, this life jacket most times are provided by the operator, or you have your own personal life jacket and you own your personal life jacket and you decide to take your personal life jacket on every journey. Because you see, Generally, research has shown that water transportation is actually the safest mode of transportation because of that life jacket.
It
we
is
have
the safest.
accidents. Yes, we have accidents on the road every day. You might not hear about how many accidents happen on the road every day, but immediately any accident happens on the waterways, trust me, the news spreads quite fast. So that life jacket is the singular most important thing you must have on that journey.
Sorry, let me just butt in quickly. So some of us, or some people, don't trust the water, whether you have a life jacket or not. But I need to put on record: once you have a life jacket, you can never drown.
You will be safe. Yes, you know, until of course rescue.
Except you're
Definitely.
attacked by a shark.
But except
drown.
the dysfunctional life jacket.
Yes, that's
because
another
there are also
question.
cases
Yes.
of dysfunctional life jackets
Yes.
where many people have life jackets that have stayed over 10 years in their boats, and they do not know that when you deploy it, it can't work.
Yeah.
So
you know, that's why you said I was coming to the steps. So that life jacket is the singular most important thing you must have for every journey. Now, what then? Because that's passenger's responsibility, that's also operator's responsibility. Now, what will the regulatory bodies then do? We do what we call a biannual inspection twice. Now, check the boats and also check their life jackets. If you find any life jacket which doesn't meet the standards any longer or are worn out, you confiscate them. So of course, they will pay fines for having those life jackets. But the state government understands that transportation sometimes will be subsidized one way or the other. So the state government every year donates life jackets to these operators, apart from the fact that they should buy those life jackets themselves. So with those checks, you find out those life jackets, which obviously, and of course, we rely on passengers telling us, if you see something, say something. I went on this boat today, this is the name of the boat, he has confiscated life jackets. Immediately he gets to his point of destination. We then have state government officials, which are called water guard corps. They are the ones who will look at those life jackets and say, well, you have this life jacket, this boat is not going to be allowed to move anymore until these life jackets are replaced.
So the checklist. So
Yes.
Life jacket.
So life jackets,
Tick.
tick, and then also, of course, the boats, of course, having done inspections previously as well.
Yeah.
The state government officials at those jetties ensuring that there's not overloaded on the boat.
Right.
Secondly, as well, you have your life jacket well strapped on, and encourage the passengers, because a lot of the time passengers wear it, and when they get on the journey, they unbuckle. You should not unbuckle your life jacket. Your life jacket should stay on you till you get to your destination. Yes, some people say I tend to get hot, but look, think about the journey. Do the journey, and when you get off, you can take off your life jacket.
How about being preventive? Because prevention, they say, is better than cure.
Absolutely.
Since we're talking Lagos, let's stay with Lagos for a bit. So I can see from this picture, literally every other person except the gentleman behind the man who is wearing the long.
He actually has a life jacket. I think it's
maybe
been
he held it in his
obstructed
hand.
by
It's been
the
obstructed, and
picture.
it's probably not an orange one. It's probably a dark
Okay,
one.
I hope so.
Yes.
So, is it that does the state government ensure that before any boat moves,
Yes.
everybody must be on the life jacket?
Most definitely.
Because that's the beginning. So
Most-
talk
most
to us about
Through that process. So basically, what happens is that before you get onto the boat, right? Obviously, you're coming in through the building. That's if he has a building. It's called a terminal. If he has a building, but without the building, it's not called a terminal. It's called a jetty. Now, once you walk onto the platform, before you get onto the boat, you are handed that life jacket, so that once you are seated in the boat, you are wearing that life jacket, right? And because you're wearing that life jacket, even you as well, you feel the fact that, oh, I am safe on this journey. And that's very, very, very important. So the prevention, like I said, will still be the fact that you must ensure that you're wearing that life jacket and you've strapped it properly. That's why we even have officers on our jetties to ensure that everyone has worn that. So if they see any passenger passing them and they hasn't, you're not going to go until you strap that jacket. And generally, there's been a 95% compliance across Lagos State in terms of wearing life jacket, because over the years, we have emphasized on this as well.
Let's go back to one picture I saw on the screen where it was an overcrowded boat. If we have that picture, yes, that's it. So if you say that the agencies who watch this and ensure it doesn't happen. I remember there was a time when cars used to be overcrowded. There used to be like 5 people at the back, 2 people in front. Yeah. But government ensured that 1 person sits in front, and now it's just 3 people at the back. And right now, that is still in place. It still happens till this day. Why can't it happen for the waterways, where specific number of people are to enter a boat and it's not this overcrowded? Because this can easily capsize.
Well, to be honest, I can't verify if this picture is Lagos.
I'm sure it's Lagos.
No, it might not be.
It looks like
There was a picture. There was a picture that was trending about a year ago with small. I don't know if you saw it, school children, and they were saying it was Lagos. Apparently, it wasn't even Lagos. So I'm not saying that these things will not happen. However, generally on the boats, you would know from the boat how many people should sit on each row, and there's seats basically in the boats. If you look at the boats, but these ones are the ones where you have the wooden platforms, and those platforms, you know how many people as well should be on those boats. I remember I said the state officials on the jetties will look at all of those boats as they're going and be able to stop any one of them and be able to say, look, this is what. And of course, we started to enlighten the passengers a lot more. If you see something, you must say something. Complain. I'm not happy with the standard life jackets. I noticed a leakage on the boat, and of course, be able to send a message or call a number, because we have emergency numbers as well, which you can obviously call us on, and then we can obviously respond much quicker.
So there's really no excuse for waterways to not be manned by state officials.
Absolutely.
Every one of them, or each of those waterways should have government officials. So it calls to question what's happening across board as well. Speed limit. So I have my odometer on my car, for example, so I can see my speed limit. Even if I'm a passenger, I can peek and say, no, this man, you're driving beyond 80 if I'm on the 3rd Mainland Bridge. That is. But for boats, what's the speed limit? What should the speed limit be? How do you know when the boat is moving too fast? You obviously can't jump out at that point, but what should be the mentality?
Well, generally, at every point on the waterways, right, different locations have different speeds, and they're actually called knots. So you say 6 knots, 8 knots, 10 knots. That's how we describe the speed limit. So different areas have different speed limits, right? And these are things that obviously at sessions where you have with the boat captains, and because they're both called boat captains, and some of them who have their own their own conductors are called deckhands. Now at those training sessions, they're obviously enlightened on what is the safety speed, what's the speed limit for this particular area in which I function in. So they would tend to know those speed limits. And when you're on the boat, you as well would know, and of course it happens a lot of the time, because remember, these operators as well are trying to get to the destination quickly. And not only them, we even have passengers who are telling them, oh yeah, hurry up, I need to get to this place. And we always advise that passengers should not do that. And operators don't always listen. Don't listen to, in fact, don't listen to passengers. If you have any problem with any passenger, please report to us and let us know that this passenger told you, and you are telling them, no, I will not do this. Especially happens because, for example, I'm sure, I don't know whether but you know, Ikorodu to the island, which is a very popular route on a weekday, is just 25 minutes. So easily, if I leave Ikorodu at 7 o'clock, I will get to the island well before 8 o'clock. And sometimes that means that if I want to get there, that means I need to get to the jetty at 7 a.m. as opposed to getting there at 7:30 and wanting the boat to make sure it speeds and gets there before 8 o'clock. So we also get those kind of things. But generally, the speed limits would always be assigned, of course, by the authorities based on the particular location.
So let's talk about when these incidents occur.
Yes.
What should be done?
Okay. So one of the things we've realized, that I'm sure you know, this is the age of technology. And Lagos State, apart from the fact that we have the personnel at the jetties, we've also deployed the use of technology as well. So we have the first of its kind. It's called the Waterways Monitoring and Data Management Center, which is situated in Falomo. And what it does is that it enables us to be able to monitor real time what is going on around strategic jetties. Because from those jetties, you have a camera of about 2.5 kilometers, which can see the long-range haul around those jetties. Now, immediately an incident occurs, right? Usually, of course, you know, there's a lot of panic. This would happen. So what will usually happen is that a call will usually go through, of course, an emergency call. Now, that emergency call will go to the 767 or 112, or even though we have our own direct lines as well. And once those calls come in, the first thing is usually on the waterway. Now, waterways has different users. You have the dredgers, you have the fishermen. There will always be someone around who as well might be able to respond as the first responder. However, once we're alerted, we have what we call a search and rescue team, which will then go out to be able to ensure that they can then rescue those who have been faced with those situations. And of course, Lagos State, as obviously working with several other agencies, also working with LASWA, which is obviously the health management aspect of that service, are able to then deal with any victims, of course, from those incidents. So the search and rescue team is able to take them off the waterways, get them onto land, and then LASWA takes it from there. So the most so in terms of what you've asked, the simple answer is that we're able to have our search and rescue teams respond when those emergencies occur.
So when emergencies occur, and maybe the captains, as you've called them, do they have punishments that they have to suffer when they are guilty, for example, of putting a person's life at risk or in danger? Are there punishments, proper punishments, to ensure that they adhere strictly to instructions when next they're giving those instructions?
Yeah, most definitely. I think just even over a year ago, one of the captains who caused the untimely death of about 15 people was sentenced to death. So there are those measures. But look at what happened. It's almost like the downfall driver, the other day. Immediately happens, they know that what they've done is bad, so they run.
Yeah.
So the same thing with the waterways as well, because when it happens as well, they want to escape. So what we obviously starting to do now is, of course, the data. And of course, you must have referees, you must have people who stand for you. So those people as well will have to be held accountable. Because when you escape, then you'll be held accountable for them. So most definitely, that's what happens.
Good one. Two issues I want to quickly raise. There's been controversy around the cowrie cards introduced, the extra charges, card maintenance, insurance, and people are like, it looks like you're charging us extra. And I know you have to respond to that. But I want you to quickly speak to communities around riverine areas. So when accidents happen, the communities sort of take charge and say, well, there is a certain spiritual power here that we need to appease. You have to maybe bury somebody, in sad cases of death, or they say there has to be some sort of ritual, and they basically take charge. Is that existent here? How do you handle those? Because they have their strong beliefs, and they believe if you don't do that, they'll have repercussions. So how do you handle that?
Well, obviously, we won't speak against that, because obviously it's tradition. But one thing that is key, and of course, coming to bear, and we must realize that, this thing, you have to constantly keep looking for ways to improve things. It just shows that even at our communities, we need to do a lot more training. For our people, because obviously sometimes they will need to learn the basic things like CPR, and how do you quickly administer CPR if you're the one who's there, and everyone across board should be able to understand what basic CPR is. So I would say, of course, no really tradition, but the first thing we must realize that people, when you find out the victims from those kind of incidents, CPR has to be administered immediately, of course, to be able to help people and make sure.
What if they want to take to shrine instead?
Well, obviously, you can't stop that at that point in time, because obviously it's almost like as if you're going to go against the crowd. But the first thing should be done, basics that should be done for them will be the basic CPR. But ensuring, most importantly, like I said, when you have the water areas, ensuring that there are officials there to be able to at least put things in order and make sure things are in place.
You didn't respond to the cowrie stuff.
Okay, so you said you wanted me to do this first. Yeah. So let's look at this right now. Why have we introduced cowrie, and why is cowrie there in the first place? And cowrie is the one. It's the system on the road transport, which is currently being used on the BRT. It's the only system on the rail service, both the blue line and the red line, right? It's only natural that as well it should come on the waterway. So there's an integrated system. However, now, one of the things obviously which we hadn't done over time was with water transportation, there had to have been, of course, the insurance cover. So that extra charge, one is the insurance cover, two also is a maintenance fee for the company. The company is not a charity. The company has to provide the service. So that is the charge. Now the extra charge covers both payment for the company and also for insurance. And this
it's part of a subsidy, because there had been some sort of price reduction, percentage reduction.
No, that's what happened on the water. It's because the stakeholders initially were adverse to cowrie. So until they stabilize with cowrie and ensure that, okay, you adopted the cowrie, because they told you, look, cowrie is coming in, one, for the operators, going to help them. There's a lot of their, revenue leakages, because these boat captains with cash, they tell you, I carried only 17 passengers, I carried 20. Now with cowrie, there's nothing like that any longer. There's also the idea of digital manifest as well, because now you know who exactly was on that boat. So it's going to benefit everyone in the long run. But initially when you hear an extra charge, the first thing you say is this, but people are actually doing it, people are actually paying it.
Well, it seems Lagos has gotten a few things right. We hope that across the country, this will be replicated. Maybe some other time we invite other other states of the Federation to see what they are doing. But we must thank you.
Thank
and
you,
we will have to invite you to talk about the different areas and the waterways and all of that. We don't have time to explore
within Lagos State.
within Lagos especially, because I know the popular ones, so maybe there are other ones we'll also talk about. Oluwadamilola Emmanuel is the General Manager, Lagos State Waterways Authority. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.